I'm excited. I think the delivery truck is here. Let's check it out. Man, this thing is a lot heavier than a 912 engine. I noticed that as I was dragging it in. This is a rarely seen part of my garage. This is kind of behind the garage and mostly storage space. A lot of this part over here is used for my other business, which is Zalex Industries. This is most of the inventory. Some of the manufacturing is done here, but some just storage. This is the stuff that's for sale, kind of car parts area. And yes, I have a bathroom in my garage. And then on the far side, kind of behind the light here, this is my office. It's pretty dark in there. I mostly just use that for shipping labels and stuff. But anyways, this is gonna be the new home for this new engine. So let's open it up and see what's inside. This came from a running car. So this is not a core engine. This one is ready to install. With one caveat, I'll explain in a second. Let's take a look at this first. Oh yeah. So on top of here is something that's really important. This is the entire wire harness for the Carrera engine. This is a Carrera 3.2 engine, and it comes with this pretty heavy duty harness. And then right down here is the Motronic controller. So this thing is really meant to be plug and play with everything in running condition. So really excited about this engine. Fuel lines look to be capped off and kept nice and clean. This one here too, capped off. Several electrical connections here we're gonna have to read about and get all this sorted out. But you can see here, there's crank position sensors here on the back. This is a adapted flywheel for an early transaxle. That'll make sense here in a second. Lots of vacuum lines, things have to be sorted out, but really excited. This is a really cool engine. Looks like this wiring here goes right to the starter. I think the air box has been cut open with additional air going into a Fram filter. Did include this coil, it was packed separately, Bosch coil. I just opened up this from the packaging too. This is the ECU, normally located under the driver's seat. And it says here, 1984 ECU, completely rebuilt in 2019. Includes a spare chip. We'll have to open this up someday and see what kind of chip's inside there. Steve Wong makes a chip that's really common with these engines to get a little bit more performance out of the electronic management. So you can see here, this is the factory wire harness. This runs all the way inside the cabin. That's what connects to that ECU. And then lots of various connectors, many sensors on this engine. It's a modern fuel injected engine. So you can imagine the amount of sensors involved in the late 80s. The exhaust system is mostly stock. This is the heat exchanger output here. This part here looks to be replaced. I think this is where the catalytic converter normally goes. And this has an O2 bung. And I think this is like a pre-muffler. I don't think this is a catalytic converter anymore. So you probably picked up a few horsepower with that. And then the muffler is mostly a stock muffler, kind of beat up a little bit. Okay, based on the serial numbers located kind of down in that hole there, this engine is from 1989. It is a USA version. It's model 930/25, so it's the lower compression pistons designed for USA. It is from 89, although the ECU appears to be from an 84. Hopefully there's no compatibility issues. All right, I'm excited for this engine. I'm glad it's here in the garage, and it's gonna be a lot of fun. The caveat to this engine is, well, it's actually not my engine. This engine is very, very similar to the one that I will be getting for my own car. Also an 89, even lower miles than this one. This one has about 80,000 miles on it. And this engine belongs to Benji, and he has a 67 912 that he wants to swap this engine into. And so I'll be doing that, featuring it here on the channel here shortly. But I got the engine a little early. We're gonna be putting it up on the engine test stand, do some diagnostics to it before that car even arrives here for the swap. That's a little introduction as to what's gonna be happening in a few months from now. So when my engine arrives, I'm also gonna be putting it in my car in stock form. Just like I did with the 912 engine, I wanna get some miles on it, get to learn more about the engine. And while it's driving, that 912 engine will be sold, and I'm gonna be starting to collect some parts for modifying the 3.2 into something bigger. I actually wanna go up to as high as maybe 3.5 with a stroker crank, slightly bigger pistons, change the cams, change the induction system, individual throttle bodies, probably, you know, maybe perhaps twin plug, coil on plug, lots of modifications I haven't planned. But like I've told you on my project, it has multiple levels. Right now we're at phase 1 with the 912 engine. Phase 2, like I mentioned before, is the stock 3.2. Phase 3 is where we really bump it up into, like I just mentioned, as much as 3.5 liters. And so if you look at the horsepower, we're at about 90 horsepower today. This, with some small modifications, mostly stock form, is about anywhere from 210 to 230. And then after that, we can go over 300 horsepower pretty easily. So the other cool thing about this project for Benji is he's currently living in the Philippines. His car is here somewhere in the States, I think Arizona, and he, I think, misses California. He's unable to probably work on his cars there in the Philippines. So before he can come back to the States, he is going to really watch on YouTube his car being transformed from a 912 to a 911. So, you know, thanks to Benji for trusting me, not only with this engine, but also that conversion. I think it's gonna be a really fun project. Probably knock it out pretty quickly. It's not gonna be nearly as involved as my 911. So I'm excited for this. I'm excited to get it up on the test stand, get it connected, and really understand its whole sensor network, how to run it in its most efficient way for an older 911, or in this case, 912.
Garage time.